Hello, everyone.
Hey guys, welcome to today's webinar. Today we have a very exciting topic with us today and with a very special guest who's going to tell us a lot more about that topic in detail. Do you want to share with our audience what we're going to talk about today, Ahmed?
Yes. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Ahmed Shanawaz,
And I'm Humayun Haroon.
and we work in Google office in Singapore, working with Southeast Asia developers across the region. So, as Humayun mentioned, today we are going to discuss about a very important topic, which we have received a lot of interest from publishers, and this is how do we grow the app using paid promotion campaigns. And in that regard, Google Ads product provides you the best solution in form of universal app campaign. And we have our expert in the house today. Humayun, do you want to go ahead and introduce?
Sure thing. So just before we introduce our expert and let him take over the show, some quick updates. So if you notice, there's a window to your right on the screen, and there's a chat box over there. So you can input whatever questions, whatever details or further questions you might have over there. We will be taking live questions at the end. So please do make sure you make the most of it. Some of you already use Google's ad user acquisition solution. So this would also be a great chance to ask those more tougher questions which you can't get access for. Secondly, at the end, just under the video, there's a link for a feedback form. Please do fill it out because we go through each and every comment, and these comments help us figure out what kind of seminars, what kind of guests, what kind of expertise to bring to you next, so you guys can make the most of your one generation opportunities. And with that, let's introduce our guest. Our guest today is Harry Tan, and we will let him give an introduction about himself in more detail. Harry, welcome, and over to you.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. This is Harry. I'm account manager based in Google at Singapore office, helping developers in the Southeast Asia region to grow your business with effectively with Google Ads app campaigns. So today I will be sharing you more knowledge on how you could scale your business with app campaigns and measurement solutions.
Super cool, Harry. So do you want to get started? Do you want to share your screen and shall we go ahead with the slides?
Yeah, sure. Meanwhile, I'll just remind our viewers again that you can post your questions. As Harry would be explaining the best practices, we'll be keeping a look out for your questions, and we'll just be shortlisting them so that we might even take your questions in between the session, but most of those questions would be addressed at the end of the session. So over to you, Harry.
Okay, thank you. So I'll start with the app campaign introduction first. So maybe you have heard Google Search, Google Display, YouTube, or AdMob campaigns in the past, but nowadays all the campaigns have been consolidated into one single app campaign to help. It leverages the user signal and the power of machine learning to find you the right customers at the right time. So all the user signal data such as action, context, and intent combining with the machine learning algorithm and your KPI Google will help you distribute your apps across all these properties like GDN and Google Play, YouTube, and Google Search. As you can see, you just need to supply the app campaigns with your creative assets, and then your campaign will be delivered across different platforms in different formats, such as text ads, image ads, or auto-generated video ads. So this getting your campaign running is simple. You just need to follow these 4 simple steps. The first one, selecting the campaign type that matches your goal. Second one, set your campaign speed and budget. Third one, create and upload your creative assets. And last but not least, set up the conversion tracking solution that covers your needs. I'll start off with the first one first. So use the campaign that best fits your goal. So there are majorly 3 different types of campaigns. Installs and install advanced campaigns, which mainly help you target users who will install your app or game. Actions and campaign tab, which allows you to define specific in-app action that you can get users to download your app and later complete specific in-app action within the app or the game. Engagement, we have launched this in beta last year, and then right now it's still on a whitelisting phases. So this allows you to re-engage users, ask them to come back to your app or your game. So the second step is to set up your campaign speed and budget. So here we have a few best practices for you to set up your initial campaigns. So in terms of the daily budget, you should allow for more than 100 installs or more than 20 in-app events per day for the machine learning algorithm to learn and optimize effectively. And when you just set up the campaign, please ensure there's no change to bids or budget before the first 100 conversions and the first full week of new campaigns. So because the campaign have a learning phase, so it's recommended that during the first week of the campaign starting phase, you don't make any changes to the campaigns. And setting up your CPA bid higher will result in a faster ramp up. The higher your bid, the faster your campaign will be able to ramp up. And then what we see is that most success campaigns with a bid of 1.5 to 2 times of your actual CPA goal tends to ramp up much faster compared to campaigns which just bids the same as your CPA. And to ensure a stable transition when adjusting bids, please note that to minimize the bids and budget adjustments to be within the 20% range. So it's not recommended to make bid and budget changes of more than 20%. Fluctuations will be expected when launching the new campaigns, but it will stable as the system gathers more data and then begin to understand more behavior about your users. So it's also recommended if you're running iOS campaign, set up a bid 1.5 times higher compared to the Android campaigns. The third step, you will need to create and upload your creative assets. So there are 3 main types of creative assets: text assets, video assets, and image assets. So for both video and image, we suggest uploading portrait, square, and landscape variations of your assets. And then for videos who aimed at in-app activity, we suggest you aim for a duration of 10 to 30 seconds. So now you have set up the campaign, you know which goal you want the system to optimize for. Next, you should set up your tracking to properly track your marketing spend. So you could either use Google Analytics for Firebase or use any other third-party attribution tools. So if you're setting up campaigns for Android apps or games, you could also utilize the codeless installs that our Google Ads system already integrated. So you don't have to use any you don't need to use Firebase or any third-party tracking tools, but it is highly recommended for you to use either of these two so that you can understand not only your downloads data, also the usage data for users within your app or your game. And then even if you have a third-party app attribution partner already, we will recommend that you consider implementing Firebase, because by bidding on Google for Google Analytics for Firebase events, we are able to leverage the standardized data in our machine learning algorithm that can help you further improve your performances. So once you start to running your first app campaign, this is a typical campaign that we noticed when the campaign just started. In the first few days, when you just run it, the CPI may overshoot your targeted CPI or CPA. And then the campaign may not be reaching the scale you've already set. But over a few days, the CPA will gradually stabilize, and then the system will be able to pick up to the scale that you expected. So we recommend that when you set up the campaign, do leave some time for the system to learn and then explore your users. And to give you more details, you can see this is how you could set up the campaign in the Google Ads system. So there are different fields. So choose your mobile app, give it a name, target the specific country or the region, choose a device or user language to target, set up the daily budget, choose the bidding objective, and then set up the start end date. Then you will be able to start your first campaign. And the next one will be uploading your creative assets. So you will be able to upload the text, image, video, or HTML5 playable assets. So we have introduced ad groups for the new Google Ads app campaigns. So you can create multiple ad groups for one specific campaign, but the recommendation is that keep it to 1 or 2 ad groups when you initially start the campaign. So they are 20 image cap, 20 video cap, and 20 playable cap. So for images, the recommended image ratio is the landscape ratio, as well as the square ratio. So in terms of size limit, the normal image size limit is 150 kilobyte, and then the landscape image size limit is 1 megabyte. So the recommended ratios for videos is 16 versus 9, 2 versus 3, and 1 versus 1, which means the portrait, the landscape, and square. And then the recommended video duration is between 10 to 60. But if you're targeting, as we have mentioned earlier, if you're targeting users to perform specific in-app activity, keep it between 10 to 30 seconds. For HTML5 playable ads, the recommended dimension size will be interstitial image size with the dimension of 320 times 480 and 480 times 320. And then the size limit is 1 megabyte. Just now we have introduced that you could use Firebase to track different user behavior within your app, and then it's recommended to be used with Google Ads. So here are some common events that we recommend you to track and then set up in order to fully use the action campaign in the future. So the must track event is first open event. And then if you have in-app purchase within your app or your game, so the system will automatically help you track the in-app purchase event as well. Please help to import them to Google Ads as well. So if you focus mainly on monetizing your app and game through AdMob, then you should also aiming to track ads-related events. So you could write your own code to track events such as complete rewarded video 5 times or view interstitial video ads 10 times, etc. And at different stage of your app or your game, there will be different strategies to run the user acquisition campaigns. So, for example, for indie developers, they are majorly four phases: soft launch, launch, growth, and maturity stage. And then the amount of campaign budget and then the amount of installs you're likely to get is different. So during the soft launching phase, you're likely to set a daily budget to get a group of users at a relatively small size to validate your products and then to validate your monetization strategy. Once everything is up to your expectation, then you could increase the bids and budget to get more users. And then during the growth and maturity phase, you're likely to further get more users. For more established companies who are monetizing mainly with AdMob, then you could consider different launching phases. So compared to the indie developers, there will be a few stages where you could do a hard launch or do a push, right, to bump up your user numbers in order to reach certain store ranking to further amplify the impact of user acquisition campaigns. We've also prepared a simple calculator for you to measure your return for the app campaigns. So for this calculator, there are a few main metrics. So you will have your investment. Then from the Google Ads system, you can calculate the cost per install for your campaigns. Then you can get the amount of installs. From the AdMob system, you will be able to get the ads revenue and then divided by the number of users that you have in your game or your app, you will get roughly an average ad revenue per user over a duration of maybe 30 or 90 days. So through this simple calculator, then you will have a sense of how much money you have invested into user acquisition campaign, then how much money you've made through the AdMob system to calculate the actual return on your ad spend. So here, there's one thing that you shouldn't ignore, which is the organic spin-off. So for every dollar that you invested in user acquisition campaigns, you would likely expect there will be a certain level of organic spin-off, which means if you invest in $1 in user acquisition, you may likely get users to go to the Play Store or App Store to search and then download your app. And then the organic spin-off, depending on different genre and different categories, and then different stage of your app or your game, it could be slightly different. So in our example, even though on the paid user acquisition campaigns, you've invested in $1,000 and then you are only making an ad revenue of $522. So in this sense, for the paid user acquisition campaigns, you're making a loss of $478. But if you calculate the amount of money that you could make from the organic spin-off, so you are eventually making the total return on your ad spend is actually close to 150%. So to summarize, Google App Campaign is easy to set up, simple to manage, and then effective at driving results. Thank you. I think we will be open up for some
Yeah. Sorry, my mic was muted. Thank you so much, Harry, for that insightful session. I'm sure our audience found it very useful. By the way, guys, this is a great opportunity to ask live questions and answers. We'll be taking them as they come. We already have a few. let's have a look at them. So we have Imran Ali, and Imran Ali is asking, you said daily budget should allow for 100 plus installs per day. Is it for each campaign? I mean, if I have 4 campaigns for an app, should I have to set 100 plus installs for each campaign? Harry, any thoughts on this?
Yes. So on the campaign level, we recommend that at least they are like for each different campaign, there should be like 100 conversions. So if you have four campaigns for one particular app, you should ideally aim for at least like 100 conversions each for each of the campaigns. But if you have limited budget, then combining some of the campaigns in order to hit that minimum threshold.
Makes sense, makes sense. So for the audience, just make sure that for each campaign, you do aim for 100 installs each per campaign. And as Harry suggested, if there's not enough money or budget right now, then it's better to merge them and run fewer campaigns, but at least get those 100 installs. Thank you so much, Harry. We have another question. It's by Imran as well, and we do get this question quite frequently from other publishers as well. What Imran wants to know is, I want to know relation between invalid traffic and Google Ads campaign. As I start campaign on Google Ads, I receive invalid traffic issue on AdMob. Will you please let me know about it? Do you have any comments or anything about this? Is there anything that our publishers should be wary about?
No, I think for Google Ads campaigns, sometimes when you see on the invoices, there will be invalid activities, which means that the system detected some irregular behavior on the users who may be clicking on your ads. And then those, if the system detected those behavior, then you won't get charged for those clicks that you may have already paid earlier.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Harry, you have a lot of fan following in Pakistan, and a lot of Pakistani developers are also on the Hangout listening to you. One very common question that I have received regarding Google Ads is, they set up a campaign and then the campaign stops and they are unable to understand how to restart the campaign. Like they say their budget is not consumed. So I wanted to get your thoughts on it. What are the things that they should check when a campaign is kind of stopped? It is not consuming its allotted budget.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of developers do face similar problems. So the first thing that you should be checking is that on your Google Ads campaign, are there any policy violations? So this is the first alert that you should be aware of. If there's any policy violations on the campaigns, the campaign will likely be not able to scale. So in this case, you could go to our help center and then raise a ticket for our technical team to double check on the policy violation. So if there's anything that you are not doing correct, the team will come back with details and then guide you how to fix that.
And Harry, if I may ask, what are the common violations that you typically see among these kind of cases?
So some of the common violations will be, say for example, in terms of the text creative, there will be excessive use of symbols, or for the image or video creatives, they could be violating the image and the video creative policies, like too flashy, or like the content is irrelevant, or it's violating certain group of users policies. And then other than the policy issues, there are some other things you could check when the campaign started to scale down. So you will also need to check on the CPI. So if the actual CPI is overshooting your targeted CPI, it's likely that the system finds it's more expensive to acquire users. So because your targeted CPI is lower than the actual CPI, the system started to allocate less traffic to your campaigns. Then because the system cannot find so many users at your targeted CPI price.
Cool, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. The third one that we see is that the system may be exhausting the users with your current creatives. So one recommendation will be adding more variety of creatives. Some partners only add text creative. It's recommended to add both image and video creatives as well, so that you can reach the inventories that the campaign may not be able to reach previously with only the text creative.
Got it. That's very helpful.
We have another question. It's by Uno Solution. Uno Solution is asking, how to measure ROI page, how do you calculate profit/loss for organic spin-off? I think he's referring to the slide you presented.
Yeah. So in this slide, we just use 3 times as the organic spin-off number. So in the actual scenario, when you run your campaigns, the organic spin-off will be different depending on the stage of your app and then the category of your app. So how do you measure this organic spin-off is you use the number of paid users you are getting from the system, and then you use the amount of organic users you are getting from the system, and then divided by the number of paid users, then you will get the organic spin-off amount.
And Harry, I'm curious if this organic spin-off factor, are they vary from app genre to app genre, and are there any benchmarks that you can direct our viewers to go to if they want to simulate what's the typical organic spin-off factor for their kind of an app?
Yeah, I think currently we I don't have any site or slides to share with you guys of the organic spin-off benchmark data yet, but there are some external studies researching on the organic spin-off benchmark for different game and app genres.
Right. Okay. Do you see any other questions, Emmett, or?
I think we can just remind our viewers again to post more questions. Guys, you have the access to the chat box where you can post your live questions. Ask anything. This is your moment to ask Harry about Google Ads. I know this is the biggest challenge among the developers, how to grow their users, how to acquire users. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes and wait for more people to send us their questions. Meanwhile, Harry, I would also want to ask you about Firebase integration with Google Ads. What are the typical benefits? In terms of, for example, when we talk about AdMob, and we have been talking about integrating AdMob with Firebase, and how it helps both of the ad data to come in with the in-app purchase data and everything. Is there any best practices that you have seen in your working with the top publishers in which they have used Firebase in conjunction with the Google Ads?
Yes, definitely we have seen a lot of the big scale ad-funded partners who have already adopted Firebase and then use it every day, not just to track user acquisition, but to help them guide their product improvement, and then to measure the user acquisition efforts as well. So by integrating Firebase with your mobile app or your game, you can track the user. You can track the user acquisition campaigns. You can also track the user behaviors, and then you can customize the events to track different user behavior as well. So say, for example, when you are monetizing with AdMob, there's a lot of ad-related events that you could track, and then later pass such events back to Google Ads. So eventually, you could set up campaigns that are optimizing for such events. So we have seen a lot of big partners who are using this method are seeing a good success with this methodology. So they are seeing a better return by targeting such events rather than targeting just in-store events.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I guess with that, we don't have any more questions coming in, Harry. So I think pretty much all your slides were so great. A lot of people understood them just as they were presented. So I think with that, let's call it a day. Thank you so much, Harry, for joining us and sharing the breadth of knowledge with the rest of the market. I'm sure our publishers will make the most of it. And if they have more questions, they can. By the way, do use the feedback form. We do have a look at it. It's just under the video link. You can even submit questions over there if you want. We can have a look at it later. And it'll help us plan for future webinars as well to bring you the exact content that you want so you can make the most of it. Thank you so much, Harry. It was great having you.
And have a nice weekend, everyone.
Have a nice weekend. Have lots of fun. And plan for your awesome UAC campaigns for next week over the weekend. Something good to think about in Malamar. All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.